How are you, Richard?
Yeah, good, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, Richard. How is it being celebrated today, the big dance over there in the United States?
Well, we have about over 30 grand final parties spread out across the country. So all over from New York to LA. I'm based in Denver. So it kicks off in Denver about 10:15, 10:20 p.m. on Friday night. And then the guys on the East Coast, they don't actually get kick-off until about quarter past midnight. So those boys will be burning the midnight oil, but they'll all be keen watching it. So we'll have a couple of thousand people up tonight watching it from all over the US.
Well, 30 big parties going off, like you said. It'll be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a huge event, and we have our national championships next weekend. So tonight's often a big fundraiser for all the teams, and they order and buy in the Aussie meat pies and do the raffles with all of our favourite lollies and twisties and all the stuff that the Aussies miss from home. And it's always definitely a big night.
So you're saying over 1,000 people involved next week in the US National Championships next weekend in Texas. You're hoping to get a few more numbers involved on the back of a ripping grand final?
Yeah, no, often definitely they're having a huge party down in Austin, so they'll definitely be out trying to recruit some more players and spectators and everything. And often we have a lot of Aussies that rock up to the grand final nights not even thinking that we not only play football over here, but they also have the biggest Aussie rules football tournament in the world. So we often do get a couple of latecomers that after catching up with us all tonight at the grand final sort of book a ticket and get down to Texas. So it'll be a big week for us.
We're chatting to Richard Mann, president of USAFL. It's not just the expats getting really involved over there in the AFL game, mate. There's a burgeoning interest from everybody over there in the States.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And as we all know, I mean, Aussie rules, it's probably the best sport on earth. The hard thing here is just getting the guys out to practice and to train because, of course, they have all the major American sports and they're not quite sure what footy is. But once you get the Americans out, they're really hooked. And we actually have 6 out of our 7 executive board members at the national level are all Americans. So we actually have a lot of American administrators running the league in addition to coaching and playing. And our players come from all backgrounds. Shea McNamara, who's been on the Collingwood list for a couple of years now, he's got a basketball background. But we get guys and girls from soccer and lacrosse and volleyball and, all over the place.
Surely most of the people in the States, mate, will be getting to all the venues across the country and watching our great game, of course, in its finest form in the AFL Grand Final. Those that can't, mate, how can they watch it or even tune into it via TV or radio over there or even on the internet?
Yeah, well, we actually get really good coverage of the grand final. So the grand final tonight is actually broadcast live on ESPN2, which is pretty much on everyone's cable packages. So it'll be broadcast into about 100 million homes in America. Wow. We'll have access to it. So hopefully, obviously, we're looking for a really good rating from that. And then if they don't have that on TV and they can't get to a bar or a venue or function, we also get it live streamed via ESPN3.com. And so people can either watch it on their computer or on their iPhone or smartphone, or if they're techie savvy, they can even hook ESPN3.com through their cable box into their TV and then still watch it on their TV. So, plenty of avenues to get access to it, and we're hoping to really be able to boost the viewing numbers and get some more coverage on ESPN next year.
Have you noticed increased coverage too, Richard, in the newspapers over there, mate? Has there been much over there?
Not a huge amount. It's pretty spotty. We always get a fair bit of coverage around our national championships in whichever city we're in. And then often the bigger teams like your New York Magpies and DC, when they've had visiting guests, they had the Prime Minister when she was over here earlier this year. So they got a bit of media coverage from that. And we got some good stories when she was in at the White House with Obama, where there's some good pictures taken of her kicking and handball and the footy in the White House. So that sort of stuff gets some pretty good legs, and that was all really good coverage for us.
Where do your allegiances lie for the big dance today, Richard? Which and Richard Mann from the president, of course, the USAFL. Who are you liking today?
Well, I haven't got a horse in the race. I'm actually a Saints man by heart.
Ditto,
But,
mate. So we won't chat too much about that in regards to grannies.
No, exactly. And probably because of my sour memories from last year, I think I'm probably going to have to tip my hat and go for Geelong.
Do you think they'll get the job done? Obviously, you want Geelong to win like a lot of neutrals too, mate. But do you think might be a lot closer? Obviously, the feeling over here this week's been Geelong, but you can't write off Collingwood.
Oh, definitely no. And I would almost throw out that last round result, to be honest. It seems that some teams, when their final spot's locked in, some teams still play sort of, full cylinders and go hard at it. And but I think, Collingwood were probably maybe playing a little bit of ducks and drakes in that last game. So, to be honest, I'd kind of almost ignore that result. So I think it really is going to be a toss-up. And as it always should be with the grand final, mate, it's going to be whoever plays the best game on the day. It's
going to be massive, Richard, wherever you are in the world, of course, not the least of which in the States. Just quickly, mate, any future premiership players we can look out for next week at the US National Championships in Texas?
Yeah, we've actually got quite a few guys. We were all down there for the recent International Cup. So our centre-half forward guy, Brian Dragas, who plays for the LA Dragons, who's one of our newer teams. And Dennis Cometti is actually now their #1 ticket holder. And you can check out, there's a bit of a testimonial from Dennis on YouTube towards the Dragons. And they're a brand new team, so this is their first national championship. So, yeah, Brian Dragas will definitely be a guy to keep your eye on. He's very, very good, likely sort of what the AFL clubs are looking at from the US, sort of 6'6" and above, sort of key position, ruckman, very mobile, really good kick on both feet. So that's definitely the prototypical player that, like Kevin Sheehan of the AFL and the elite talent guys are looking for.
We certainly can't wait for that next week, Richard. We can't wait for today as well, mate. Enjoy the big dance, and, of course, hopefully it's not as wet over there as it is here today or predicted to be, mate. Thanks very much for chatting to us, and we can't wait to chat again soon.
No problems at all, Scott. And for anyone who wants to follow the results from our nationals, they can just jump on to USAFL.com, and we'll be live updating throughout next weekend.